Hi guys, it's Nancy from Nancy Stamps coming to you from the Lavinia World YouTube channel. And today I'm going to show you how easy it is to make this fun kind of evening scene dragon card. Now if you're like me, sometimes looking at something can be a little intimidating, and that's how I first felt about the Lavinia stamps until I got my hands on some and started playing around with them. So this is actually pretty simple, although it looks like there's a lot of elements in there. It's really easy to make. So the first thing we're going to do is to make sure we have the right paper. So I'm using Bristol Smooth paper. You probably have this in your stash. You want your paper to be super smooth. It makes it easier for blending. And then I am bringing in my little stamp pad here. It's just a foam pad, which it makes it easier for me to press in and stamp into. You can also use your stamp positioning tools like your Misty or your Tim Holtz, whatever you have. But this is just a piece of foam. So any kind of piece of foam you can put under, give you a little bit of squish. Even a couple of sheets of scrap paper or a magazine will help you out with that. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make my ground, and it's so easy. I'm just going to grab a torn piece of paper. So here we go, just a torn piece of paper. I'm using VersaFine Clair ink in Shady Lane. And I'm just going to take an ink blending tool. So you can use your brushes, you can use your distress inks. This is the domed applicator. It makes it a little easier for me because it doesn't show as harsh of lines. And then I'm going to just kind of make almost like a little hill and just bring that ink in. And what's nice about Bristol is because it's so smooth, is I have time to blend that ink out so that I don't have any kind of harsh lines showing with my blending. And that's just a torn piece of paper. There we go. I want to move this up a little higher, so I'll ink that some more. Maybe make it a little lighter. But you can see how easy it is to kind of just add some layers in there. And you can go lighter, you can go darker. That's easy. That's my ground. Very simple. Okay. All right. And then I want to stamp our castle. And this castle is called the Stone Castle. And I'm going to grab a stamping block. Now, it might help to do this on a stamping platform because if you don't get a completely solid image, you can go in and re-ink with your stamping platform. But we're going to use my favorite black ink, which is the VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. This is a super black ink, highly pigmented, leaves a nice solid image. And I'm going to stamp that right in the middle of the page here. And just give that a few moments to transfer over. Okay, and we have our castle. Next, I want to make my mountains. So same technique. We're just going to take a torn piece of paper and we're going to use some Twilight ink. Let's get a little bit of ink on there, and I want these to kind of go upwards and just again off the page pulling in some of that color over here on this side. And then I do kind of want to layer this, so I'm going to go in again. It's a little lighter here. And I'm just going to pull down and put that ink in there. Now you can leave it like that, but I'm going to do a little bit of blending here just so it looks like mountains in the background. And you can go as high or as low as you want to go with that. All right. Then we have our little moon. And I just have a clear piece of acetate. I put a little bit of double-sided tape on there just to hold it in place. I just cut out acetate packaging with a 2-inch hole punch. I think this is an 1.5 or 2-inch hole punch. And I'm going to put that right in position right there. I'm going to tape that down. And I'm going to go in with my same blending tool, but I want to go in with some, I think I was using Fantasia for this one. No, Monarch. Some Monarch. And just dabbing that in, starting off, pulling in a circular motion, just kind of blending in my sky there. I want that purple look, bringing that down, and we're going to darken this up. So this is just our base layer. And you can go as light or as dark as you want. I like to then go in and just add some random spots where it's a little darker, almost so it looks like clouds. Okay, and while that stencil's in place, I'm going to take a gel pen. This is just a sparkle pen, and I am going to trace around my moon here. Okay, pop my little mask off of there. I have a little stickiness there. I'll just take a little eraser and erase that off. There we go. All right, and then I'm going to grab a little bit of gray ink. VersaFine Clair Morning Mist. And again, just grabbing one of my blenders. Just going to go in there and then very lightly just kind of shade inside my moon. I don't have the Lavinia moon yet. It is on order, so you can bet when I have that, that's what I'll be using. But in the meantime, I'll just shade this moon in just to give it a little color. Okay, and now we're just going to stamp in our dragons, and I am using this set, which is just called the Dragon Set. It has the 2 smaller dragons. And I'm going to use Fantasia. And this one I'm going to put kind of right in the center of the moon there. Okay. And then the other dragon, as he's going by, is kind of looking down. So for him, I'm really going to stamp him off the page. By the way, my piece of Bristol is 5.5 by 4.25. So it's A2 size card front. Just going to ink up the front half of him. And have him coming in off the page, kind of like he's looking down at the castle. Okay. All right, then I'm going to go back in with my gel pens, and I'm just going to take the gold and I'm going to kind of just go in and fill in some of the windows here. And then I think this one I used on the door. This is just a little bit of green, just to add a little bit more color. Okay. All right, so because these are pigment inks, you do want to give them just a second to set, or you can take a heat tool to them. You can certainly leave it that way. I do want to kind of darken up the edges by giving it kind of this like a vignette look, so that way your eye is drawn to the center. And I don't have any kind of scripty sentiment stamps where I can be able to stamp that around. So this is just using the basics. If you don't have as many stamps, you only have a few of the ink pads, just makes it easier. And again, all you're doing here is just basically using a couple pieces of torn paper. So now I'm going to go onto my glass mat where it's a little bit more slick of a surface, and I'm going to go back in with the Medieval Blue. And again, just grabbing my blending tool, grabbing some of that ink, starting off of the card on the mat, circular motions coming in, and just blending that in onto the edges there. And again, Bristol is just so smooth, it makes it easy to do this blending for me, but use whatever paper you have. As long as it's smooth cardstock, it should work out for you. You can see as I darken up those edges, your eye is more drawn to the castle. It's like the moon is lighting up the castle, and these dragons are kind of flying up in the night sky there, taking a peek of what's going on. Now, if you lose some of your color, for instance, I've lost a little bit of my green there on the ground, I can always go back in and layer that back on. So go back in with my stencil, my homemade stencil, and just put some of that green back in there. There we go. All right, and there we go. We have our stone castle with the two dragons, adding that little bit of gel pen or glitter pen in the castle. You can see how that sparkles. It's around the moon. It's very subtle, but it's a nice little accent. Very simple, very easy to do. You can see I've made this panel in under 15 minutes. If you have any questions, post them down below. I will link everything I use down in the description. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. We are trying to grow the channel, so please make sure you click the subscribe button and the bell so you get notifications when we post new videos, and make sure you share with all your other crafty friends. Thanks for watching, and keep on stamping. Bye-bye.